ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930 present The Drive.
It is Tuesday, May 9th. Your drive begins now on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. I'm your host, Paul Swann. We are here until 6 o'clock. The text line is open 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. We've got a plethora of issues, topics to get into today. In the middle of the show today, about 5:15, we're going to hear from new Marshall women's basketball coach Kim Stevens. Catching up with her, I want to talk to her specifically about her time at Marshall at this point, recruiting, everything that it goes into being a new coach and starting from scratch. I mean, you have a core team, but you're always looking at the transfer portal. You're recruiting as we speak. You are trying to lay it all out. You're trying to build this program in your image. You're trying to see what you have to work with, what you need, what you can make better, adding new pieces. Pieces will leave, all of that stuff. Just the day-to-day that goes into coaching and being the new coach of a program. So Kim Stevens is going to come on in the next about 5-10 minutes. We'll get her on. We'll talk to her about that. I think that's going to be fun. Now, we got other things we got to get into today. Obviously, we're going to talk about softball because a lot of awards came out today in the Sun Belt. Marshall picking up several first-teamers and one of the individual awards. We'll get into that. We'll hear a little bit from Megan Smith-Lyon as her squad getting set for the Sun Belt Tournament. So we've got that to get into. Of course, the phone line is open. We take your texts daily on the show. And our text line is 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Now, there are a couple of things we probably want to flesh out and talk more about that happened yesterday. Yesterday was just crazy. First of all, Bob Huggins on a Cincinnati radio show using a homophobic slur and then issuing an apology. The university issuing that statement, then issuing their own. They're still gathering information. We don't know what's going to happen with Bob Huggins right now. He was, according to Ren Baker yesterday when he was interviewed, he had a conflict. So he couldn't be at the coaches tour stop the Mountaineers were hosting yesterday. So he's not available. And I'm sure we're not going to see him for a while. So the question has been, what should his punishment be? Should he be reprimanded, go through sensitivity classes, community service, all the things that you try to go through to rehabilitate your image? Because he took a hit. Or did he take a hit? Because I've seen it both ways. There have been a lot of people who have come out, both high-level people and everyday West Virginians, everyday people, who, one, say, hey, you know what, we're too sensitive. He used that homophobic slur, we're too sensitive. You know what, just talking to his guy. He's talking to Bill Cunningham. They've known each other for years. Just talking to him, and it's locker room talk. I heard that today, locker room talk. And I don't know if I go for that. And if we use the homophobic slur on the air and then we chalk it up just to locker room talk, what are we talking about in the locker rooms, right? And we know what's going on in locker rooms. Yeah, there's a lot of coarse language. There's a lot of inappropriate conversations going on. We know. But that's a locker room. This was a public venue. This was a radio station with a tremendous reach. And it goes all over. This wasn't just something he said off the cuff to someone in the privacy of his own home, his office. I'm not justifying the venue. If you say it in your office to someone, that's fine. I'm not justifying any of that. What I'm saying is what he said made national news because it was on a national radio station. He apologized. Now, what should the consequences be? What's the punishment? Did this end his career? Is his career over? Or is he going to have to go through a lot of rehabilitation? And what I mean by that is he's going to have to, honestly, probably face those groups that he disparaged. He's going to have to face the groups that he disparaged and hope that he can learn, understand. You know, all the PR speak. You've heard it. You've seen it before. Tom Brenneman making a very similar homophobic slur on the air. He didn't know he was doing that, but he lost his position because of it, made his mistake. And Bob Huggins, is he going to keep his job? Is he going to be let go by the university? And I've heard a lot of people say, no, he shouldn't lose his job. Made a mistake. We should quit being so sensitive. We should man up a little bit, or can't cancel culture. I've heard of all today. So where do you stand? And I wonder if he would have said the N-word, would he still have his job? If he would have said the N-word. Society has changed. What's acceptable has changed. What someone believed 30 years ago, you can still believe it, but how you present it now might not be acceptable. So should Bob Huggins keep his job but go through a long and rigorous path back, long journey back to regaining some of our faith in him? Or is this the end of his career? 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. When I heard it, I finally listened to it. Yesterday it was happening. I didn't have the audio when we were on the air. I finally heard it, and we're not going to play it here. But I'm thinking to myself, what is he doing? Does he not realize what he's doing? It wasn't just a one-time slip. What are you doing? You went there again. Do you not realize what you're saying? And I don't care what the venue. I'm not making any excuse for, well, if he had said that to his friend by himself, that's okay. No. What he said was wrong. And now he's sort of gone underground a little bit as we await to see what his fate may be. And then that's not even the craziest thing that happened as far as Marshall fans are concerned, because Andrew Taylor, it was a double dose of I don't want to say goofy, but yesterday was just goofy. It's the best way I can describe yesterday. It's just absurd what was happening, because that was going down, and then after a lot of speculation, Andrew Taylor putting himself in the transfer portal. We thought we saw it coming. Some maybe more so than others. Others maybe put their head in the sand a little bit and thought, no, that's not going to happen. And I've seen a lot of commentary on this. Well, he's not loyal. I don't like him anymore. He's not loyal. How dare him? NIL is ruining college athletics. I've seen it all. So we'll get into that. How do you feel about Andrew Taylor leaving Marshall basketball? How do you feel about Andy leaving? Are you okay with him leaving, understanding that there might be bigger and better opportunities for him out there? How do you feel about how NIL, how the transfer portal has impacted college athletics? And are you confident that Marshall University can survive? Are you confident that Marshall University, and this is not just basketball, but all programs, can address these future issues and really attack the transfer portal, use it as a tool, use it as something that it might take away from you, but you also might get something back out of it that might be just as good, if not better. Because now we've got to recruit to the transfer portal. You got to recruit your team every year. You got to recruit to the transfer portal, and you've got to be smart. You got to maybe go recruit high school kids as well, because they got to come from somewhere. They're coming from high school. You got to go get them somewhere. So you have options. Recruit your own team, recruit the transfer portal, recruit high school kids. Hope that maybe you'll get one that'll stick around. It's going to be different every single year. Every year is going to be a different team. There's maybe not that many 4 or 5 year players coming around these days. So we'll do all of that, but we're hoping to have Kim Stevens on the next few minutes, Marshall's women's basketball coach. She's been very busy over the last few weeks trying to get her program set And so she's taking a few minutes out of her day to talk to us. So we're going to talk to her in the next few minutes. And later on, we will take your text at 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. I do want to hear from you. There are a lot of issues I want to get into with you, see where you're at right now. We'll do all of that when we continue. But coming up next, Kim Stevens, Marshall women's basketball coach, and she will tell us all about what's happening with her program, including some new additions when we continue on this edition of The Drive, ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
This is The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
Welcome back to our our Tuesday, May 9th edition. I am trying to keep track of days here. Yesterday was so crazy, but we're on Tuesday, May 9th. This is The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. I'm your host, Paul Swann. I want to welcome back to the program now. She has been hitting the ground running ever since she took the job at Marshall University. She's paused. I think she might be running as we speak. The new head coach of the Marshall women's basketball team, Kim Stevens, is with us. Coach, thanks for doing it again. I know you've been all over the place. You haven't stopped since you've taken the job.
I really have not stopped since we've taken the job, but it's been a good busy.
So as a new coach taking over a program, this isn't your first time, so you've done this before, but now you are doing it at Marshall. It might be a little different. What have been your first weeks like? What are you trying to do? What are you trying to establish as you try to get this program set for the upcoming season?
Yeah, you need to make sure that you recruit players that can come in and help you right away, and you need to make sure that you hire a staff of people that you can trust and that will make you better and that you can lean on. And then you got to try to get to know the current roster as well as you can. And that was kind of a brief time. Everyone was here for 2 weeks, and then they've been gone for a couple weeks since the last time you and I have talked. So that was kind of short. We had 2 weeks of workouts and kind of tried to set the standard there. And so it's just been hitting the ground running and trying to recruit this coming class and the following class so that we don't get behind. And so it's been busy, but it's been good.
What do you think you know about your team right now?
I know that they're going to play hard. I know that they want to get better and that they want to win. I know that that's very important to them. I think that it's going to be harder than they think it is, but I know that's right there. Those two things were very obvious from our first couple conversations together.
So with that said, you're trying to make the evaluation of what you have, match it up with what you want to do, and then you have to go out and recruit not only the next generation of Marshall player from high school ranks, but also the transfer portal, and you've already been pretty busy and active. And so if you can you tell us a little bit about some of the young ladies that you've already brought into the program? I guess we should start with the Hayes sisters. So caught me off guard a little bit. I saw you had the one committed, and then you had the second one, so you got a package deal.
Yeah, and it's a pretty good package. I think they're going to be really good for us. I'm excited to get to coach both of them. They were two portal kids. They were our first two signees, and so that's special for me as a head coach to have those two be the first two that I signed as a D1 coach. And then we have another freshman who's coming in, Timberlyn East, and she's amazing. I just remember watching her when I was at Glenville, thinking, oh, man, I'll never be able to get her. And then, she ended up decommitting to where she originally signed, and so she opened her recruitment back up, and so I was excited to get the opportunity to recruit her, and that went well. And then we just had another young lady commit. I think it's not official yet, so we can't really put names out there, but another portal kid commit as well. And so we have kind of hit the ground running. I like our class. I think our class will make us better. Again, I already like the roster that we have. I think there's already talent there. And so we're just trying to fill some pieces. And so that's great. The only adjustment for me is at this level, then you're already recruiting the next year. And so I don't want to get behind 2024s and 2025. So it's just kind of, you're on the phone nonstop.
So we'll talk about Yeast first then. I think that'd be a great place to just talk about what she brings to Marshall basketball? What did you see in her that you originally wanted her to come to Glenville State, and then when the opportunity arose, you went right back after her?
Yeah, she's just a athletic downhill transition player who can guard, but she's just really good in open space. She's really good in 2-on-1, 3-on-2 situations, full speed going downhill, and that's going to be what we try to bring to Marshall, and she fits that mold very, very well. She's a hard person to keep in front of you, and those are the players that I like to coach. She's coming off ACL surgery, so we're going to have to be a little bit patient with her, but it's just her athleticism. She's an amazing track athlete as well, and so she has the athleticism, and so those are the type of kids I usually like to coach.
I remember reading about her. Even with her injury, she's still one of the all-time leaders at high school, and what she did on the field and track. She seems like she could be a next level player for Marshall basketball, and maybe after that.
Yeah, I think the beauty of her, the Hayes sisters are phenomenal, and we'll get to them in a second. But you get to coach a player like Timblin for 4 years, and I haven't had very many 4-year kids like her that I've gotten to coach before. Maybe one other.
You say 4-year. With the transfer portal, it's always giving you something new, and it's always taking away from you. Do you feel that with everything you're trying to put into place that you can re-recruit your team every year and maybe come up with student athletes that are 3 or 4 year players and really build that strong foundation and that continuity?
Yeah, I think that's the game now. I think, if you have a few standouts here and there, then they're going to try to go up a level, and that's just something that we're all going to have to get used to. But you do have to re-recruit your own team, and you are going to have to learn how to operate in the portal and be comfortable with it. And junior college players as well. We haven't signed any current junior college players, but I do like to coach those type of players as well, which are usually 2-year players. Sometimes they're 3 if they were a qualifier coming out of high school. And so you have a lot of opportunities. So freshmen that you can get at age 18 and have all the way through, it's a rare breed. But when you get one, it's exciting.
And as you mentioned, the Hayes sisters, you're going to have to help me with the pronunciations. I really don't want to butcher their names.
Yeah.
I'll go with Alasia first. Alasia?
Yep, Alasia. Yep, and Alasia is going to be really, really good for us. I can't wait to coach her. I think she needs to have some confidence back. Heck of a shooter. I think she's played probably 20%. At 20%. I think she has so much more left in the tank, so much more she can bring to the table. She can do it all. She can shoot. She's a very good shooter. She can guard. She can defend. She can get downhill and score any type of way, and her sister can as well. So Alasia and Aislinn are their names, and they're both going to be an absolute handful.
Which one's more competitive between the two?
Ooh, it's hard to tell. So I can't wait until they get here. So their visit was one of the best visits that we've ever done, and it just felt right, I think, for all parties involved. And so Aislinn's a little quieter. Alasia has more of a personality, and so I don't know if that makes her the more competitive one. We didn't put them through a workout, so we didn't get to see them on the court. The thing that stood out about both of them is just how much they want the other to succeed, and how highly they talk about each other when they talk about basketball and they talk about opportunities and what this one can do and what that one can do. They're both each other's biggest fan, which I think is really cool. But their mom was on the visit, and it's a basketball family. It's a competitive family, and they said they didn't fight a whole lot when they played going one-on-one, but they're winners, and they want to be somewhere where they can win.
My guest is Marshall women's basketball coach Kim Stevens. So you have these new players coming in. There's another one coming that you can't talk about. And then, as you mentioned, you got to go right back out and get next year's and next year's. Have you found a pace yet that you're comfortable with coming from Division II now to Division I? And there are a lot of things that are similar. There are a lot of things that are different. So are you into that groove now, that pace? You're learning what you need to do, where you need to do it, and how you need to do it, and translate what you did before into now this higher level, or at least bigger level. I don't know if you want to go higher. Just maybe, more. Just more into
More.
it. Yeah, more.
Yeah. I don't even think we're there yet. It's been, I've had blinders on, and it's been find players, find a staff, find players, find a staff, find players, find a staff. And so the staff is complete. They're just not here yet. And so I think once they get here, I think one big adjustment will be, I'm kind of used to just operating with me and two other assistants, or sometimes, a lot of the times in the summer, it's just me in the office. And then I'm texting my assistants of, what do you think of this kid? We're emailing back and forth. And so having a staff of people is going to be a big adjustment for me. And just to do a good job of making sure that everyone stays in the loop and making sure we're all on the same page and making sure that I over communicate things. I think that's going to be a big adjustment for me. And then having the players back in July is going to be just a adjustment for me as well, because at Glenville, we didn't get to start workouts until mid to late August. So it was 100% effort 100% of the time. I don't know that you can do that from July until March. And so we're going to spend some days in June kind of looking on what our July and August are going to look at, just so we don't have burnout and a whole lot of injuries.
My guess is Marshall women's basketball coach Kim Stevens. So you're doing all this. You've had blinders on. At the same time, you have to go out and meet and greet and introduce yourself to a new crowd, a new audience, probably every day, every night. How are you juggling all that? Because I don't know what your situation was previously at Glenville State, how many times you maybe had to go out and be in the public, but you're in Cincinnati, you're all over the place now, and I'm sure it's starting to become a blur, or at least you're getting the same question over and over again, and I'm sure you've got a great answer for them now.
Yeah, that part's definitely a huge adjustment. And so it's been good. I've been learning. The event in Cincinnati, there were other coaches there, and they were all asked a lot of questions, and I could just learn from them. Sometimes I feel a little silly because I don't have the answers to the questions yet. And then you can hear the other coaches speak and learn from them and pick up on what they're saying and just get to know people. And I think just with everything going on in sports this day and age, that you just need to be connected to your fans and you need a relationship with them. And again, I think the last time you and I talked is we want to play in front of a packed house. That you need supporters and you need people that care about your sport. And so that's part of the game. And I'm more than willing to do it if people are going to come and cheer and heckle and yell and boo and be one of the best cheering fan bases in the country, then I'll do whatever it takes.
What's the most interesting question you've gotten so far from these fan tours, these coaches tours?
I got a question the other day. It was what's your biggest challenge? And I just instantly thought of like 700. And I was like, I don't think I can pick one. And so there's a lot of challenges, and it's just going to be a day-by-day thing. You're just going to take it day by day, and it's not supposed to be easy. And if it was easy, then I probably wouldn't be doing a very good job at it. And so just learning so much. But that question kind of stood out to me, that there's a lot of challenges ahead.
I'll ask it a different way then. Which challenge are you tackling first, and which challenge is maybe the most daunting?
The most daunting challenge to me is making sure that I have genuine relationships with the current team, with the team that I took over, and making sure that they know me and I know them, and that they come to me and they don't go to the other 25 people that are there to help them, and that we have real authentic relationships, because you can't ask players to run through a wall for you and to do what I'm about to ask them to do if you don't have a relationship with them. And again, at Division II, it's us and them, and sometimes you're driving a van and they're in the back seat, and that's not the case here. And so just making sure that we find ways to have those relationships and that they're real, that's the most concerning thing to me overall about making this jump. And then finishing a recruiting class we still have one spot left. And so to finish this recruiting class and to do it well and to do it to where we're excited, and then get the staff here, get everyone on the same page, and then just kind of go over what we want the rest of the summer and the preseason workouts to kind of look like. And we're still working on scheduling too. So there's still a lot of lot of work to be done.
My guess is Marshall women's basketball coach Kim Stevens. So you've been a coach now, so you're not a stranger to it. And I'm sure once you get on the court and just coach, you're going to be in your zone. But while you're putting all of this together and you're going through all of this, is there anyone that you're leaning on right now for advice? Is there someone you're calling up and talking to? And if so, what are they saying to you?
Yeah, I'm really thankful that Jenna Burdett is still on staff. She's kind of always been one of my go-tos of, okay, this is the situation. What do I do? Okay, here, what do you think about this? And so her and I had worked together before, and so she is already on the staff. She's already here. She's going to be promoted to associate head coach. She's excellent. She is probably so ready for the rest of the staff members to get here because she has been doing a lot of work, and I've just been putting a lot on her. But she's definitely the right-hand man. And then if it's anything else, you always go to your family if it's anything else about relationships or anything off the court on basketball related.
You have an advantage, though. I mean, you come from a basketball family, so you have an advantage.
I absolutely do come from a basketball family, and so they do know some certain things that can help.
What are they saying? Is there anything that's maybe not too personal that you can share? What are they saying?
Well, they got to come to the event in Cincinnati, and it was really nice. It was just nice for them to kind of come to an event and kind of see what I do. And it's more than just practice and showing up for a game. But they've been really, really supportive. My sister, there was a silent auction for women's basketball courtside seats. Nobody had bid on it, so my sister bought it so that I wouldn't be embarrassed. And we kind of joked about it afterwards and said, okay, well, just wait. Like, we're going to laugh about this in a year and a half. Those were only $75 because we're going to make sure that the price of those go up. And we're going to make sure that those are really hot ticket items. And so this is just going to be a running joke that you got it while it was cheap. And so that was just a good moment to have. But they're beyond supportive. And so that part has been great.
She's going to resell those, right? That's what the plan is.
Oh, 100%. Or we're going to gift them in some way. We're gonna make the most out of those. It's gonna be great. Or she's gonna sit there and her husband is gonna sit there and they're gonna have the time of their lives just heckling the other team. It's gonna be great.
I can't wait to see that. I want to see that, especially.
She's kind of excited about it.
So she might keep those. So there's no regifting or anything.
Yeah, she really might keep them. She hung them up on her fridge when she went home.
What kind of heckler is she? Because it sounds like she's done this before.
I don't really know. She's very soft-spoken, but she does get into the games, and so does my mom, and they're both the most soft-spoken people. But they're competitive. Again, you called it, basketball family. And so heaven forbid if she leaves her husband at home and brings my other sister, then I'm going to make sure it's a certain game when they get those courtside seats, and they're just put them as close to the other team's bench as we can.
I can picture it now. I don't know if I can verbalize it, but I can picture it now. Especially if your mom's there and something happens and your mom doesn't like it, and then all of a sudden,
oh yeah,
are you going to have to turn around and yell, "Mom"?
No, my mom will be fine. My mom has done this for years and years. She'll just clap and not clap. She's not one to worry about. It's the sisters who maybe need you to keep an eye on them.
Okay, so we have a new courtside attraction. Your sisters on game day. We might have to interview them after games just to see what
That'd
they
be
thought.
good.
I would love that. That's probably going to happen. Maybe
Okay.
before and after a game sometime. Get their thoughts coming in, and then afterwards, and where you can't, they can. Oh, the refs were terrible. Did you believe those calls? Yeah. So okay, I see what you're doing here. I see what you're doing here.
That'll be good.
My guest is Kim Stevens, the head coach of the Marshall women's basketball team. Have fun. I know you're every day. You're all over the place, trying to get everything in order the way you like it. The office space, is everything good there? You got it where it's functional for you.
Oh, they're painting right now, so I went up to look at it today. So we're having it repainted, and we're getting some new graphics up. And then we're getting a little snack bar right beside it. So again, what they're doing at Marshall is amazing. I've been here for 3 weeks, and they're already completely redoing the offices, and they're making sure that we have an extra functional snack bar for all athletes on the right beside of it. And so, I mean, it's amazing how quickly things go and the effort that they put into it. And you just mentioned, I'd like some paint, and then all of a sudden, all of this is happening. And so it's our dead week recruiting wise. So it was a good week for them to get in there. And so I'm excited to see what they do, because when I looked at it today, it's a project.
Okay. So let me get this straight before I let you go, because I know this is the most pressing issue now. Your office and a snack bar, all connected.
All connected. I guess there's a door in between, but yeah, they're going to do a fuel station for the volleyball, women's basketball, and men's basketball, I believe, maybe swimming. And it's just going to be for all athletes, and it's going to be right beside our office. And so that's going to be phenomenal. And again, like the renovations and the things they're doing in the Cam Henderson Center, it's mind-blowing to me how quickly things get done.
Okay. And this is all up in the upper area, overlooking the Cam Henderson Center. That area is to explain to people where the snack bar is. All right. The media room's still up there, right? They're not taking the media room out, because I might have to visit the snack bar after.
No, they're not, but it's just going to look a little different.
Okay, that's fine. Just as long as the media room is there, connected to your offices and the snack bar.
Yep, it's on the other end.
All right, I like this. I got a game plan now.
There you go.
Coach, thank you. I appreciate you doing this. We'll do it again soon, and good luck with everything. I know it's been so hectic, but I'm excited for what you're going to be able to do over the next several years as the head coach of the team, and I can't wait to get it started.
All right, thank you very much.
Kim Stevens, head coach of the Marshall women's basketball team. She has been nonstop trying to get it done for the Thundering Herd, and it sounds like she's having a good time while she's doing it. We'll get your text in, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. More coming up on this edition of The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
This is The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
Our text line this hour is 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. I want to welcome you back to today's edition of The Drive. It is Tuesday, May 9th. You're listening to us on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Let's go to our text line. Earlier in the program, if you weren't with us, we talked a little bit about yesterday's transfer portal news that Andy Taylor, staple of Marshall's basketball program for years. You're hoping that he would be the standout star for the upcoming season. Instead, he is in a transfer portal. And Texter wrote in just a few minutes ago and said, concerning Andy, it sadly doesn't surprise me. Really in a bind as to how next season will be after we all lose. Kind of weird that Coach gets an extension and this happens. I could see Andy and Micah teaming up at UF. Concerning Huggins, his image certainly gets downgraded and should be penalty after such. I'm going to say he's saying should be penalized after such language he used. In today's world, you have to be more careful than ever in all aspects. Nobody's perfect, and we should forgive, but Huggins needs a wake-up call. What would be a suitable punishment? If you said the N-word in this same context, you said the N-word, would you lose your job? I'm going to say yes. Bob Huggins said a derogatory slur, a homophobic slur, or a gay slur. Best way to describe it. And if he keeps his job, then what will the penalties be? What will the repercussions be? What will the punishment be? What will be the proper response to this? Is Coach Huggins' career over? Is his career over? Or can he survive this? Can he finish this out? Can there be some way for him to continue to be the coach of West Virginia University and at the same time there be some penance, some penalty, something that will satisfy the urge to right the wrong. And then, are we consistent when it comes to things like this? That's probably the big question. Are we consistent? Tom Brenneman, for example. I like Tom Brenneman. I don't know him that well. I've met him a few times. I thought he was really nice. Always nice to me. So, okay, here's my basis of Tom Brenneman. Spoke to him a few times. Very personable to me. Very nice. I think he does a great job on the air. All of a sudden, he makes a homophobic slur. What he thought was off air, that doesn't mean anything in this context. He thought it was off air, but he made it, and so he lost his job. Cincinnati Reds and all the other parties involved did not want to associate with him. And that's one thing to keep in mind. They didn't want to associate with him, and so he lost his job. Now, is that the standard? West Virginia is going to have to make a decision as a university, as an athletic department. Okay, do we want to associate with Coach Huggins? After this, do we want to associate with Coach Huggins? And if we do, then here is what needs to happen for our association to continue, and that means your employment. Are both right? Yeah, I think both are. But it's not consistent. I mean, if an institution, an organization doesn't want to associate with an employer anymore, unfortunately, for the employer, you got to look elsewhere. If an organization wants to continue association, in this case, if Bob Huggins continues to be employed by West Virginia University and is the basketball coach, then the university, of course, will have to deal with what that means. So there might be a lot of backlash, or might be some backlash. You know, honestly, to be honest, I've seen it go both ways. It's been, hey, give the guy a break. He made a mistake. It's not that bad. I've even seen some that say, hey, he didn't say anything wrong. I've seen the full spectrum. So what is going to be consistent for him? For us? I'll be honest with you. If I had said that, I'm not here right now. Honestly, I'm not here. If I would have made that mistake. And I've made mistakes. You've made mistakes. Everyone's made mistakes. The difference here is that Bob Huggins has been doing it a lot longer. He's been doing it a lot longer than me. He's been out there. He's been on the radio. He's been on television. He's been interviewed so many times. He's been doing it a lot longer than a lot of us. And yeah, he does know better. He does know better. But he should also know better. And he should understand. And I think he does understand to a degree. Okay, whatever happens is going to happen. But I think that's what's the disappointing part of this is. You know, if that's how he believes, you know, I can't say anything for him. I don't know how he believes. I don't know what he thinks. If he was thinking he was cute, if he was thinking he was being funny, you know, we all have those moments, I'm sure, where we say something and we're like, oh, I shouldn't have said that. And we also, sometimes we do things and it's perceived wrong. Sometimes we do things and it's not wrong, but it's perceived wrong. Sometimes we do things that are right and it's perceived wrong. Perception plays a lot into this. And what's the perception of Bob Huggins right now? I think that's where we should start. What's the temperature of the room? What's the perception of Bob Huggins here? And a lot of people preach forgiveness. A lot of times people say that forgiveness is, you know, more for the people that are offended or the people that are the victim. So are the people who are offended willing to forgive Bob Huggins? And is Bob Huggins willing to ask for forgiveness, and is he willing to do what it takes to regain the faith? Quick timeout. We come back. We got to wrap this up. We'll talk a little bit about softball. I don't want to overlook softball, so we've got to do that when we continue. When we come back from break, this is The Drive, ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
This is The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
We're wrapping up today's edition of The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. I'm your host, Paul Swann. You can find me on Twitter. It's real easy. It's at Paul Swann. I'm also jumping on every new social media out there that's possible. I'm trying to get ahead of the curve this time. There used to be a rule in my life. For those of you who are familiar with our news director, Bill Cornwell, you might be familiar with him listening to our morning show on our sister station, 93.7 The Dog, Billy C. The rule used to be when Billy C., this is my friend I'm talking about, Billy C., would get on a new social media network, or when he would join a media network, I would jump to the next one. And that worked for a while. Okay, I'm on MySpace. He jumps on MySpace. All right, I'm on Facebook. He jumps on Facebook. I'm on Twitter. Oh, yeah, he's on Twitter. I stopped at TikTok. I'm not doing that. Hey, before we go, let's get you caught up on what's happening. The softball awards are out for the Sun Belt. Sydney Bickle, junior shortstop, newcomer of the year, so congratulations to her. Allie Harrell, junior utility player, first team. Abigail Tolbert, junior pitcher, first team. Alyssa Winkler, senior outfielder, first team. And Kylie Ziffer, sophomore catcher, utility player. So this is the all-conference teams that are coming out. We'll get, I'm sure, more coming from the league as we get set for the tournament. And did you know that the Louisiana Raging Cajuns and the Thundering Herd, which are the top two seeds in the Sun Belt Tournament, they're receiving votes in the NFCA Division I Top 25 Coaches Poll. So Marshall is receiving some votes. That's good news to hear. So hopefully the Thundering Herd can continue to receive votes. The best thing for Marshall softball right now would be to win the Sun Belt Conference Tournament. I think that's a strong possibility. And you know what? That's going to do it for this edition of The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. I want to thank my guest, Marshall women's basketball coach Kim Stevens. I appreciate her taking out at least a few minutes of her day. She's had a non-stop journey so far as she has become familiar with, I don't want to say the next level, but just more, as we talked about earlier, jumping from Division II to Division I. There will be some transition. So it sounds like that now the toolbox is opened up for her a little bit more. So before you had a hammer, now you have a nail gun. You have power tools now you can build this team with. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate everyone who has tuned in. We'll do it again tomorrow, and we'll start at 5:06 right here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Have a great night, everyone.
WRBC Huntington, W227BS Huntington. This is your radio home for Pittsburgh Pirates baseball, ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.